Good afternoon. Good, wonderful fall afternoon to the people of the Total Debt Freedom world. It's a gorgeous September day. Got a question I'm going to respond to here on my drive back home. This one comes from a viewer by the name of Spiros, and he was actually looking for a car. He couldn't find his perfect car, so he's given up the search and he's looking for a house instead now. And his question goes towards, I'm thinking about a townhouse rather than a standalone home, don't know about a condo. And he wants to know if that's a good investment. I've written an article on whether or not a house is a good investment. I'll put a link to that in the description of the video below. I think you should check that out. But on a separate note, I basically replied to him and I said, look, I don't know where you live, so unless you live in the GTA in the greater Toronto area, I really don't have any opinion on the value of a house or whether or not it's a good investment. You can lose money on houses. You can make money depending on where the market's at and where you're getting into it. So he replied back and he said, I've got a lot of anxiety around the subject. I don't want to really take on the debt because if I lose my job, you know, what could potentially happen? But at the same time, he feels like he has a safe job because it's been 19 years. But anything is, of course, possible. Is that something I could talk about? Happy to, Spiros. Let's go for a drive. With respects to your question, there's a couple of points there. Let's get rid of that music. There's a couple of points there. You're asking about whether or not taking on debt is a good idea and whether the anxiety is telling you something. So the anxiety is telling you something. It's your intuition speaking to you. I've spoken about intuition many times to people close to me and those in my business, and I really believe that you need to subscribe to and listen to your intuition. It's talking to you. It is telling you something. It is not something that you should avoid. And quite to the point, just because you get approved for a certain amount of financing to buy something doesn't necessarily mean that you can afford it. Vis-a-vis what happened in the United States housing market when it all collapsed in 2008. Just because somebody approves you for a certain amount of money, it does not mean that you can afford to pay it. Banks and financial institutions, credit card companies often give people enough rope to hang themselves twice over. So, you know, if your intuition's speaking to you, listen to it. You mentioned you've been at your current job for about 19 years and you feel that it's secure. But again, anything can happen. You may lose a job or lose some of your income. That being said, you know, you really got to look at a few things. You got to look at the housing market that you're in. And again, click the link to the article that I linked below on whether or not a house is a good investment. There's a number of different things you can invest your money in that will return you a reasonable rate of return, or even beyond a home if you know what you're doing. But again, because we're in Canada, I'm speaking specifically in Canada, you've got the capital gains exemption on the appreciated value of a house. So what that means is if you buy it for $300 and you sell it for $400, the $100,000 that you make on the house is pretty much tax-free. You don't pay any taxes on it. So back to your point, you want me to speak to it. One, I would listen to your intuition. It's talking to you. It's telling you something there that you should pay attention to. Let me see if I can get rid of the glare here on the lens. And right there. I'm just going to hold my hand. So you should be paying attention to your intuition and surrendering to it. It's talking to you. It's telling you something. Make sure that it's the right fit. I don't have enough information in the email that you sent me to really dive into specific details because I don't have a lot of them, but look at them, you know, make sure the affordability is there. Basically, whenever I go into something, you want to look at a worst case scenario, like what's going to happen if this doesn't work out? Will you be able to sell the house if you lose your job? Can you fill it with renters to help supplement your income? I remember when I was 30 years old, I bought my first house about 2 weeks before my 30th birthday, so I was 29, bought my first house and moved into it, and I got laid off and took a package and went home. So very similar to this scenario that you're talking about there, I found a way to make ends meet. I basically brought on renters. So I had, I think 3 of my friends move into my house and pay me rent, which supplemented the mortgage until I could get back on my feet. Actually, it's around the same time that I started Total Debt Freedom. That was close to 14 years ago now, actually. So yeah, just make sure you've got your ducks in a row, your T's crossed and your I's dotted. A home can be a good investment. There's other ways you can make money. So certainly look at those scenarios and factors where you live. can always ask a realtor, but keep in mind their opinion and view is somewhat biased because they, of course, make money off either selling a house to you or selling your house to somebody else. So I hope that answer sheds a little light onto the subject for you, Spiros. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment below. You can ask them there. If it's more of a private and confidential nature, you can always email me. Best way to get in touch is through the Facebook page. Just hit the message button and you can shoot your message. If it's private, just let me know and I won't mention your name. Thanks for checking out the video. Of course, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you guys later. Have an amazing day. Bye.